Hi Faye, how y'all doing? Um, I decided to talk about something that I thought I would never discuss because it's incredibly personal. Um, I had, done a video last month, I think, about abortion because there's all kinds of stuff coming up through, you know, politics and yeah. Yusuf did a video talking about abortion, and I got into some interesting conversations with people in the comments. And rather than spend time in the comments, I decided I was just gonna make a video because when you hear a story about so and so and friend of a friend and this and that, a lot of them will be kind of fantastic, and you'll hear the best of the best and the worst of the worst. Like a mother got news that her child had a disease and that it was going to die upon delivery, and this or the other way. I mean it, and they're always really fantastical stories. And I don't have one that's so dramatic. I have one that's kind of middle of the road, but there were decisions that I had to make along the way. And here's how it happened. Since I was over the age of 35, when I had my third, I was put into a high-risk category. That's just what they do with you. They watch you differently. They track you differently. And there's a period of time where they can do an amniocentesis, and they can tell all kinds of things from that. But there are risks to that, and I've never had done one, so I knew I didn't want to again with this. Around that same time, my midwife had done a regular course of blood, and it came back with some information that gave her pause for caution, so to say. And so she suggested that I go to have an ultrasound regarding it, and I asked her about it a little bit, and she said, well, if you were at an OBGYN looking at these numbers, they would probably tell you, to terminate your pregnancy. And I said, why? It's ridiculous. What are you talking about? And she said, because they would suggest that the child might have of lesser intelligence. Um, and I said, oh, okay. And I said chromosomally? And she said, no, not Down syndrome, but, any kind of slower learning or learning disability or thing like this. And I looked at her and I said, why would I care about that to terminate a pregnancy? Or even if my child were down, why would I terminate a pregnancy for that? She said, I don't know. I wouldn't do it either. And I don't know. So I went to the ultrasound. And I didn't tell anything to the ultrasound lady. She knew what she was measuring for, but she didn't have the blood results. So she's doing her measuring, this and that. And when she got to the head, which actually there was something, to be cautioned about that, because there's a certain shape and slope that can kind of indicate certain things. And she was saying how he looked all good this way and that way, and I said, really, even on the head and the skull? And she said, yeah. I said, that's real good to hear. And she said, why? I said, I told her about the results. She said, oh, no, 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 you can't let this baby go. This baby's beautiful. There's nothing wrong with him. He's perfect. He's gorgeous. Look at this. And she shows me his face. Okay, every mother thinks their child is beautiful. Whatever. Anyhow, I never thought anything more about it or whatever. Just because I had other things to think about. When I had the baby, there were vague complications after delivery that are kind of common ones, no big deal, like a little bit of jaundice or stuff with the spine they have to check out, this or that. Nothing of any real difficulty at all. You know, they have those books that, you know, give you all the milestones. And he didn't meet some of them. So after the age of 2, you know, between the age of 2 and 3, and then even more between 3 and 4, it became, you know, apparent that there was some diagnosis that was going to have to happen at some time. And I don't want to say that I didn't care, because obviously I care about my child, and I want him to be able to, you know, do well in the world. But I didn't care what word it ever was. It never like tripped me up somehow, or I never thought, oh, that's the worst thing that could possibly happen. Yeah, it's just like, oh, okay, so he learns differently. That's fine. So, you know, I have to do certain things differently to help him out. All right, it kind of doesn't bother me. It's sort of like no big deal. In between time, though, you know, he kind of has trouble communicating, so he uses just a lot of gestures. And it's amazing how when a person has a very limited vocabulary with words, they'll do anything with a gesture to show you how much they love you. And that's one thing about intelligence, you know, that can be supposedly measured, but you certainly can't measure love. And I don't love him any less because of whatever diagnosis is on paper. And he doesn't love me any less because of some diagnosis by some professional that supposedly knows about this type of learning style. Um, but what he chooses to express, he's able to tell us jokes. He plays with us all the time. He is so funny, and he expresses so much love and is so sweet. He'll apologize for things he knows that he's done wrong. He's impish when he wants to be, and knows when he's kind of cheeky and, you know, trying to get away with something. He's just like every other child I've ever known. He just communicates a little bit differently. And sometimes I think about, oh my gosh, if I had taken the word of somebody that, you know, my child would be of different intelligence, and thought that somehow that wasn't functional in some kind of way, I would have missed out on this sweet, beautiful, wonderful, amazing kid that, like, when I look at him, I'm like, he's not sick. You know, yes, he has different learning, but everybody absorbs information differently and at a different rate. So if you know what those differences are, you just sort of accommodate them. But, you know, whenever it is that a doctor can say, okay, this is the prognosis, and it's probably going to be this way or probably going to be that, just remember they don't have a crystal ball. And they can't say that, yes, this baby is not going to have a worthwhile life, and, um, you know, you need to terminate the pregnancy, because you don't know necessarily medically. And, you know, if you really do believe in prayer, there's nothing wrong with saying one, because you never know what might happen. Um, but I get really nervous when people talk about partial birth abortion, or they talk about terminating a pregnancy because of a diagnosis, because you never know. I mean, the intelligence might be able to be measured, but you'll never know the love that is far more vast. And it's an incredibly difficult decision to make, and I don't take it lightly, for myself or for others. But I'd like to I'd like to hope that people would think about more different options, as far as that there could be hope, and not taking the word of a doctor to be the pat answer that must happen, because they don't have all the answers. So that's my story, and thanks for listening. Peace.